Good evening and happy Wednesday. 11 days until the Chicago Marathon, and I am out for a very gentle post-work shakeout run this evening. So I didn't run Monday or Tuesday. I was due to do intervals last night actually, but we've moved to the kind of winter course, if you like. So we've moved from the park in Tunbridge to the roads, and there's no loos down by the new winter course, and I just had a little bit of a dodgy tummy yesterday afternoon, so I played it safe and decided that I didn't want to be doing intervals without being in the vicinity of a toilet, so I skipped yesterday. But at this point really that's not going to make a huge amount of difference. So I've had Monday and Tuesday off, and I'm just having an easy session tonight, and then I'll probably run now Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, doing sort of various sessions, mixing it up again, bit easy, bit of marathon pace, but basically not trying to overdo it before the big day itself. I've also had a really good couple of days in terms of organisation and prepping for Chicago, sort of logistics wise, and generally a bit of a planner, a bit of an organiser anyway. I like to know kind of what I'm doing when, but yeah, we've actually changed the flights, so we're still going out Thursday, but we're now going direct, whereas we were changing previously, which means we land a bit earlier in Chicago, and we're still coming back Monday, but actually we're going direct rather than changing, and we're leaving a little bit later, which is great. So we've got given ourselves a little bit more time in Chicago, which is nice because it's it's only going to be a brief trip anyway. And then I've got dinners booked most of the evenings, doing a blues bar. I've managed to sign up for the shakeout run with Asics. I'm not sure if I mentioned that on the last vlog or not, which is going to be with Kafuzi and John and Wesley Career. So that'll be really exciting on the Saturday. So yeah, we've got lots planned, but I'm feeling a lot more relaxed about all that because, like I said, I like to know what I'm doing, and that is all kind of booked and ready to go. So I'm actually testing out some new kits, some new half tights tonight. The old ones that I had were the Kit Run Decathlon female ones, which Nick Harris Fry from the Run Testers swore by for a long time, and actually, like, because they had so many pockets, they were really good, but the zip broke and they're just old and a bit knackered, so I've been trying to find sort of a replacement pair for them, and I came across a brand on Instagram which is owned by Stephen Scullion, so the Irish marathoner. I think he's an Olympian actually, and he's basically done a men's version of those shorts, and I'm wearing them tonight, and I'm really impressed so far. They're really comfortable. Nothing sort of, I've got my phone, I've got my GoPro, and it's all quite compact, and they're also not quite as tight as the Kit Run ones, which I like, so they're not digging in, so far so good. So I didn't actually manage to do an outro for that run, because as I was running back through the woods on the way home, I bumped into our friends Luke and Sylvie. Luke has been on some of the vlogs in previous weeks when we did the Hastings Parkrun and a few others, but he's had a bit of an Achilles injury recently, so I've not seen him. So yeah, I basically stopped my watch at 3.3 miles and kind of walked and had a good chat with them. But yeah, felt good. I did push a little bit just to try and test the shorts at marathon, the half tights at marathon pace, and they felt really good, so I'm pleased with those. I think they will be fine for race day, so I just wanted to give them a bit of a shakeout, and yeah, a little bit less distance than I planned on doing, but at this point, like I said, I'm not too worried with that. I'll do between probably, I don't know, 25, 30 miles. I'll do a little bit further at the weekend. But yeah, it was, it felt good. No paranoia just yet. Everything feels okay. And I'm just looking forward to it now. 11 days to go. Happy Thursday. So I'm just out on another little evening shakeout. Nothing too stressful. I'm just going to be doing a little 5 miles again, just to keep the fitness going, keep the legs ticking over. But yeah, no real goals or expectations this morning, this evening. I've been working from home all day, I've been sort of chained to my laptop because I had quite a busy day of meetings and whatnot, so it's just nice to get out and get some fresh air. So yeah, 5 miles, relatively easy. I'll probably do some pickups just to get the legs moving a bit more quickly and get them sort of prepped for marathon pace, but other than that, not a lot to report. So Chicago weather check. So again, 10 days out, so it might not be 100% accurate by any means, but you're starting to get a feel for it. So it does look like it's starting to cool down a bit, so it's still sort of high 20s today, but I think from next sort of Wednesday, Thursday, it looks like it's dropping back down. And at the moment, I think it says it's going to be 19 degrees Celsius, that is, on race day. And obviously it'll be cooler than that in the morning from the start. That's not too bad. It says there might be a bit of drizzle around, again, not the end of the world. What you don't want is sort of thunderstorms and gale force winds, but a little bit of drizzle, bit of cloud cover, not too hot, that's fine. And as I said, yeah, 19 degrees. I mean, I think Boston was maybe 16, 17, so that'll probably be similar temps to what it is in the morning, so fingers crossed that doesn't change too dramatically. So there we go, that is the Thursday evening run, pretty much done. I'm at about 4.5 miles and I'll round up to 5 by the time I get back. It's nice and easy, didn't feel quite as controlled as last night, but I've come to get used to that feeling of, you know, one run feeling great, one run feeling not, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. All that matters really is how I feel on race day and how I get on. So I've obviously done a lot of mileage in this block. I need to work it out actually. I'm not sure if I've done as much as I did for Manchester or not. I think had I not had that down week when I was ill, which was meant to be one of kind of my big weeks, then I think I probably would have done more, but yeah, I'll have to tally it up. But I've certainly done there or thereabouts. The big question will be whether the training has been as productive and whether I've got as much out of it and it's adapted my body as well as I would have liked. So, but again, the only way I'm going to find that out is on race day. So yeah, so that's Thursday night's run done, and I will probably speak to you tomorrow.
Good morning and happy Saturday. So I'm just doing a little pre-run video because Ian's coming to mine. We are going to run to Parkrun together, so we're going to do Royal Tunbridge Wells. Storm Amy has caused havoc this morning. There's quite a lot of cancellations, so I think Hastings, Wakehurst, Bedbury, Pineaton all cancelled this morning, but Royal Tunbridge Wells is on, so we're going to be running up there about 1.5 miles today. I'm a little bit jaded this morning. I actually went out for dinner with one of my friends, Ray, who I went to Oasis with in one of the earlier videos. And I've been pretty disciplined, to be honest, in this block. I haven't really drunk much, but I did have a bit last night, and so yeah, I definitely feel it today. But yeah, I'm gonna get out there, go and shake it, you know, sweat it all out, and go and just do a gentle shakeout. But yeah, I don't think I've worn this t-shirt for a long time actually. It's my red Parkrun 50, and this will be my 96th Parkrun this morning, so I'm nearly at 100, so I can get a new t-shirt. So yeah, let's go and do it and see how we get on. Marathon last weekend, and now I'm just kicking on. Just want to get a bit of like marathon pace in the legs. So yeah, I'm doing about 6:40 a mile at the moment, which is fine.
wearing my trail shoes though because it's a bit boggy and hard. So plan is, don't fall over, don't break your ankle today, just get around unscathed. So, Storm Amy has actually not been too bad this morning. It's really lovely, sort of blue skies and sunny. Yeah, it's a little bit windy, but nothing like what I think they've sort of forecast it to be. It's actually been a pretty pleasant run around. You can probably hear the wind on the camera, but it's certainly not the 50 mile an hour gusts that it said, or it certainly doesn't feel like that. So yeah, it's been an alright run so far. Cheers guys.
So there we go, that was Parkrun this morning. So I ended up running a 22:40, so a little bit quicker than I think I'd probably anticipated, but I did want to try and get a little bit of marathon pace in the legs. It ended up being a progression run, so I ran very easy first mile, very chatty first mile with Ali, then a bit steadier second mile, then I kicked on to did sort of around 6:30 I think for the third mile. I felt all right, yeah, came away with no obvious injuries, which is good. And then I've just come and had a bit of a chill, and now I am going to go and get this sorted out because I have not had my hair cut in a while, and you can see it's starting to get a little bit unmanageable. So yeah, I'm going to go and get it tidied up and get race sharp for next week. And there we have it. So a lot of weight taken out, so I mean that's going to be worth seconds. Far more aerodynamic now, but ready, fresh trim for the Chicago Marathon.
Good morning and happy Sunday. We are 7 days away from the 2025 Chicago Marathon, and I'm on my final Sunday run now, so I'm just going to be doing 8 to 10 miles, reasonably easy with a few pickups I think, but yeah, 7 days to go. So let's talk goals. So we're a week out, my training block is basically done, and I need to kind of, yeah, articulate where I think I'm at and what my goals for the race are. So in terms of the build-up, as I said, it's been alright. It's not been my best. Obviously I had that period of illness where I just wasn't feeling quite right for a couple of weeks, and I had 1 week where it was pretty much off running, and that was meant to be a big week. But other than that, like, it's been okay. Has it been specific enough? I don't know, I guess we'll find out. But I'd say broadly, like, as a block, it's like, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. It's been okay, it's not been perfect, could have been better. So on that basis then, where do I think I'm at? Well, my A goal is going to be a PB. So my current PB is 2:58:30, which I ran at Manchester in 2024. Do I think that's achievable? I think if all the stars align, conditions are good on the day, I feel good, I'm well rested, you know, I sleep well, I'm not jet lagged, I think it's possible. Like, I do actually think it's possible. B goal would be to run sub 3. So I appreciate that's not a huge variance, but you know, even if I sneak into 2:59:59, I'd be delighted with that. And C goal is actually just to go out and enjoy it. You know, if I know from halfway that it's not on, then I'm quite, you know, I'm not proud enough to ease off and just try and enjoy the second half. So yeah, they're the main goals as things stand today. But let's just see what happens. So with that being said, so those are my goals. What's my race strategy going to be? Well, that's an interesting one. I'm in Corral B, and there is a 2:55 pacer in Corral B. When I ran Manchester, my halfway split was 1 hour 28 minutes and 11 seconds, and then I ran 1:30:19 for the second half, so a slight positive split. I think it's unlikely, no matter what, like I will run a negative split. I know that's the kind of ideal for marathons, but yeah, I struggle to see how I'm going to speed up from miles kind of 21 to 26. I think I'm always going to ease slightly, and so I know you said, you know, there's this thing about not banking time, but I do think I'm probably going to go out a little bit quicker than 2:58:30 pace. I'm probably, you know, I might try and cling on with the 2:55 pace there and aim to go through halfway somewhere between 1:27:30 and 1:28, and then just see how I get on. But that's the strategy as things stand today. But obviously there's still a week to go, so I could always change my mind. Such a small world. So I was running up a road called Forest Road in Tunbridge Wells up to the sort of rugby club area, and I spotted this guy coming towards me, and I realised I recognised him because I used to play cricket with him in Preston over 20 years ago. So I stopped, had a quick chat with him. He's down here in Tunbridge Wells now, married with kids. He's just taken his son to rugby. What a small world. He's good, you know, he's a good friend back in the day as well, so that was really nice to catch up. Yeah, there we go. Small world. So I'm at about 4.5 miles now, and probably about halfway through the run. Mostly easy, although the drag up here has been mostly uphill, and this sort of lingering wind from Storm Amy yesterday, so there has been a bit of headwind. Again, you can probably hear it on the camera. It's certainly not as strong as it did get up to at times yesterday, but yeah, it's still not great for running into. But yeah, as I said, 4.5 miles, feeling alright so far. Halfway and then back and put feet up. So I'm back from my run now, so I did just over 9 miles, so 9.1 miles. It felt reasonably comfortable, reasonably steady. Didn't go out too hard, running sort of around about 8-minute miles, and then a few, like I said, a few pickups. But yeah, that's my week done. Did almost 24 miles for the week, so that is it now. So obviously I've got the build-up week, so I'm going to be doing a couple of runs this week just to keep the legs ticking over. I've got a shakeout run when we're in Chicago as well, but yeah, broadly I'll be keeping myself off my feet as much as I can this week. So I think this will probably be the last time you see me before the marathon, because I would anticipate that I'm unlikely to get this kind of vlog uploaded next Sunday on marathon day. So yeah, this is kind of it really before the day itself. What I have done actually is I've just recorded some analysis of my block, the training block, and a bit of a comparison between that and Boston and Chicago. So I'm really intrigued as to what people's thoughts are, and I would, you know, I would ask that I want to see what your predictions are. So based on this analysis that I've done, which is coming up, what do you think I'm going to run? And you can be as honest as you like. I won't be offended. I'm going to give you all the stats. For those of you that watched all the vlogs, you kind of know the ups and downs that I've had over the last few weeks. But yeah, have a little watch of this. See if you can glean anything, and give me your predictions in the comments. My race number is 7349, I believe. So if you want to track me next week, then you can do. Let me just check that I'm giving you the right one. 7349. Yeah. So if you want to track me on the app, please do. But yeah, as I said, I think by the time the next video comes out, hopefully I will have finished and completed the Chicago Marathon. Yeah, but here we go. Right, have a look at this analysis and see what you think. So I know I mentioned on one of the previous vlogs around my comparison between my Manchester build and the Chicago build so far, and I wasn't sure sort of data-wise where I was at. So I've done a bit of work, and I've actually gone through my previous two builds, so Boston earlier this year and Manchester in the beginning of 2024. And I've just gone back through my Strava data and kind of analysed and collated sort of the 18-week blocks previous to each of those marathons to get an idea on kind of the mileage that I was doing, how many big mileage weeks I was doing, etc., etc. And I just thought it'd be good, interesting to kind of compare side by side. So what you can see here is you can see Manchester 2024 and the build there. Boston 2025 and Chicago 2025 so far. Now, in the analysis, I've excluded week 0 because that's marathon week, and actually, with Boston being on the Monday, it just throws it out slightly. So ignore week 0, and we're concentrating on sort of week -1 to week -18 in terms of that build. So a couple of obvious takeaways there, as you can see, the 18-week total. Well, actually, Chicago, I have done the most mileage. So in those 18 weeks, pre-Chicago, I've done 723. So that's about 50 miles more than I did for Manchester, and about 80-ish more than I did for Boston. Now, great, on the face of it, that's got to be great. You've got to be good move doing more mileage. But actually, I think digging into it and looking at it from a different angle, what you can also see in Chicago is I've done fewer long mileage weeks. So what you can see in green there is I've done 4 weeks with 50 or more miles, albeit 2 of those are at 60. But in the Manchester block, I did 6 uh, more than 50 mile weeks. And actually, I started earlier as well. So you can see here in week -11 and week -10, I was up at 50 miles a week already in for Manchester, where I was only sort of low 40s for Chicago. And as for Boston, as you can see, I did 6 plus 50-mile-an-hour week. Why do I keep saying miles an hour? 6 50-mile weeks. And started earlier there again. So you can see in the Boston build, I'd really ramped up the mileage quite early. Next thing to point out, I think, is actually this sort of last 12-week total. So if you ignore the kind of base building phase between 18 and 12, actually the last 12 weeks, broadly, Manchester and Chicago are similar. So I've done 530 miles for Chicago, and I did 535 for Manchester. But again, you look at Boston. The difference between that first 12 weeks and the last 12 weeks, I really tailed off with injury. So after this big mileage week, 64.5 miles, then the injury came, and I barely was able to run for 4 weeks. And even in that sort of week before, that was just a trial week just to see what I could actually get out. There was still foot pain there. So yeah, a little bit of a challenge. But what does this tell me? To be honest, I think it says I'm going to be there or thereabouts. Now, if you look at the Manchester versus Chicago graph here on the right-hand side, yes, there's some divergence at points, but for the most part, they follow the same trends. As I said, I did more kind of big mileage weeks, more 50+ mileage weeks in that Manchester build, but I have been a lot more consistent with the Chicago build, with the exception of the odd blip where I've had illness or if I've had something going on. But actually, that trend line for Chicago has been, fairly consistent and fairly linear. Whereas with Manchester, it was a little bit more up and down in terms of that build. But yeah, I think broadly it says we've probably had a similar build from that perspective. Obviously, the stuff that you can't see in graphs here is kind of how I felt on some of those runs, and I want to pull one in particular out from that Manchester build. So I ran Lid 20 miles race at 5 weeks out from Manchester, and I ran that in 2 hours 11 minutes and 47 seconds. Now I actually approached that, whereas the plan was to run a really steady, easy first 10 miles, and then if I felt good, pick it up for the last 10. And I actually ran the first 10 miles in 69 minutes, and then came back in 63 minutes. And my final mile 20 was a 6:12, and I think mile 17 or 18 was a 6:08. So I felt really, really good. And at 5 weeks out, that was a huge confidence boost for Manchester. Now, obviously, I did the Hospice half marathon a couple of weeks ago. That was at 3 weeks out here. Did that give me the same level of confidence as a big 20 mile? No, it didn't. It did give me confidence, absolutely. But it was only a half marathon. It was hilly, very different to Chicago from that perspective. And
I think it was an okay performance. Like, I was pleased with it, but did it give me that same level of knowing that I could run a 6 minute 12 mile, 20 miles into a race? No, it definitely didn't. So I'm probably not going into this as confidently, despite what these stats say. You know, the stats look like broadly I should be there or thereabouts. But there is just this nagging feeling that I don't have like some really good race numbers and really good sort of stats under my belt going into this. So yeah, there we go. I mean, I have done I've done another graph, an 18-week graph on to compare all three. I'm just going to move myself out of the way. Um, so you can see here, obviously the kind of the orange line is Boston, and the mileage that I was doing was way ahead of what I was doing for Manchester and Chicago. You know, it's such a shame that I got injured because I really, really did feel good there. But then, you know, maybe because I was doing such high mileage, I was always at more risk of getting injured there. So I guess, you know, it swings and roundabouts, but I was excited to see what I could have done at Boston because I really felt good. And I was absolutely flying up to what, 6 weeks out. You know, I was doing 65 miles and running really, really well, but it is what it is. I've dropped the mileage a little bit again for Chicago. I was conscious about injury, but my build has been broadly a bit more consistent. You can see in terms of just easing that mileage up so that I didn't get injured. But I'm not sure that my long runs or my races have been as productive as the Manchester build. So there we go. So I just thought that'd be quite interesting to show you. Um, what it means, who knows? But it's good to look at it in statistics. You know, I do like a good Excel spreadsheet, and this has, yeah, it's been interesting for me to look at it actually, and it will be good to recap looking at this again post race, depending on how I've done, to maybe see where it could have gone better, and what I need to work on for next time. There we go. All right. See you next week.